Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Dual Hearts. We are back at Sleepy Hill for our fourth foray into the Temple of Dreams with the Violet Key to pick up our sixth holy instrument. Let's see what awaits us at the top of these stairs. What awaits us is yet another fat man. From Santa to this guy, Toma. Emma's father and Gregor's caretaker. Man, that guy was just meditating and we had to bust up his little trance. Of course, he hasn't been sleeping well, which means we don't care a whit about him. Not really sure what the deal is here. I'll talk more about this when we go to try to solve his problem a little bit later. But first, stick the landing. Wham! 10.0. What do you have to say? His dialogue very slowly evolves over the course of the game as he translates these ruins very, very slowly thanks to his awful eyesight. Yep, mysterious shrine, very curious, but he never actually goes inside, or at least I've never seen him anywhere other than inside his tent sleeping, or right here, checking out that exact same wall. Some life he's got there. Some people have it easy, what can I say? Anyway, here we are. This is our first trip to the Temple of Dreams since we picked up our 20th piece of dream energy, so we can also unlock that second teleporter. Again, it shouldn't really surprise anybody what we should find behind there, because we've already seen 7 of the doors. There's obviously only 2 left, and it's pretty obvious what color they are, if that constitutes a spoiler somehow. But might as well do it while we're here. I'll show the corridor once, and then it'll just teleport us straight to the... or cut us, or wipe us straight to the door every time we re-enter the temple with the proper keys. What's really important is this teleporter. 100 pieces of dream energy, that's absurd. The only non-mandatory dream energy unlockable, and it's quite the doozy compared to where we are right now. We've only got 22 or 23 pieces. And that one requires every single piece of dream energy in the game, so we're not going to actually see what's behind it until the very end. Whether or not it's worth it will be up to you once we actually see what's behind that teleporter. Hold on to it for now. We also know there's something important with that little monument, because Stompy does have some dialogue when you examine it. I wonder if it's correlated to the 100 dream energies. We shall see. Anyway, let's hang out in this little area. No surprises, the red and green doors, Christmas colored, fitting considering we just left Santa's dream. Shouldn't have to show this again. Let's go straight to the purple door now. Any second. And see the 4th Hall of Trial, or really the 6th Hall of Trial. I have no idea how Bumble made his way through the black and white Hall of Trials. Maybe he can teleport directly to the orb. Anyway. Violet Hall of Trial. I'm ready. I'm set. I am prepared to be mentally tested. By that I mean I'm prepared to do some simple platforming. This should be familiar from the very, very first puzzle to enter the Temple of Dreams. The one where we had to jump across the log and climb the ladder. This time we just have to hit the switch instead. Yeah, whatever. These puzzles are actually rather annoying because the entire thing is basically based around whether or not you can get Stompy to do that last little grab onto the ledge and pull himself up to the door. This part's pretty easy. I mean, you toss the box. So basically, you get as close as you can to the edge, toss it in, make the jump, little running start, onto this little spinning platform. There's no real worry about timing there. Pick up that key, same process. So, despite the fact that Stompy kind of latches onto pretty much everything, like this key, which I'll see as soon as I pick it up, kind of glues itself to his face, it's surprisingly difficult to actually get him to latch onto this ledge, and you can't get him to latch onto anything floating in the water. So watch this. Look, I should have grabbed on right there, but I didn't. And I can't grab onto that because there's no animation for him pulling himself out of the water like that, or at least not with these little wooden things. Right there is. I'm not really sure what the difference is. Must be a special case program. Anyway, second try. This time we succeed. Actually, this is about the 5th time I tried this because I kept walking off the side, but you don't need to know that. Check out the 3rd room. The 3rd room, we are more or less playing Frogger. There is a spiked ball that travels back and forth in front of the ledge we're supposed to climb up on, and 3 floating pieces of driftwood that we can jump across. The easiest thing to do is just to race across as soon as they show up on the other side. It's a bit random, so you can get screwed, but not really an issue for us. The spike ball is not really a concern. It moves so slowly, and obviously it doesn't hit you when you're grabbing yourself up onto the ledge. That's not really something you have to worry about while you're doing that last little bit of platforming. In any case, that's 3 rooms, so it's time to pick up the purple orb. And our 6th holy instrument is the Arbalest. Arbalest is an old archaic term for crossbow. It's basically a heavy crossbow, so to speak, even larger and harder to load than a regular crossbow. But naturally, since pretty much everything is tuned to be incredibly easy for Stompy to use, it will basically work like a slingshot almost. We don't care about the tutorial, because there's nothing for us to pick up in the sheep stream. We don't get a reward for doing it. I will show off the Arbalest in our very next stream. Where we need to be now is not any dream. Oh, check out the dance. Hang on, dance break. I mean, we did pick up a holy instrument. We didn't really get any. Time to be happy for ourselves. Let's watch Bumble dance for a little while. Look at his tail flop. It's funny. I love their idle animations. Moving on. It's enough of that. Where we actually need to be, as soon as we get out of here, because there's actually a cutscene as we leave. I'm not really sure why. We actually need to be is the researcher's tent to go check out what's wrong with Toma. But, you know, we can't do anything without interruptions around here, so. It's Val! I wonder who's watching the hotel while she's here. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can go back to the hotel as soon as this cutscene finishes, and she'll still be working there as Nancy. And I mean, we know there's a treasure here. We just picked up 2 treasure orbs, or 1 treasure orb here, 3 in the previous room. Yeah, that must be the Dreamstone. All their dialogue is so freaking childish. It's all like, I know you are, but what am I? God. I'm so sick of these two. Thankfully, Val accidentally picked herself up a full-time day job, so we don't have to interact with her all that much over the course of the game. Let's go say hi to this monument, see if anything new crops up when we examine it, now that we have the new teleporter. Nope. Same dialogue. Moving on. Let's get out of here. Back up the ladder. Back down the hill. Back to the researcher's tent. Hello? Not really sure what the deal is here. This guy basically came down with a case of the mopes, basically out of nowhere. Most of the characters whose dreams we enter who are critical to the plot or required get some framing scenes, or some establishing shots, and this guy gets basically nothing. He just all of a sudden gets really upset, and in the space of a single holy instrument acquisition, we go from barely learning a little bit about his problem to being invested in entering his subconscious. But there should be some cool stuff in here like there is everywhere, and in fact, the game corroborates this by telling us there's 5 pieces of everything. Check out Toma. Man, he was a stud in the younger days. Really let himself go. Apparently now that he's actually employed. I feel optimistic about this. Check out his mouth. He has the goofiest expression right now. There we go. Heads up. Wham! Face plant. Maybe not the best attack in the world. Polo? Nothing broken, probably. Guess what? Bet you weren't expecting a boss in here, especially not right at the start. The Statue Knight. Not really our problem right now. In fact, I don't even think we're in this cutscene yet. We are, sir, not appearing in this picture. Check it out, it's the sword that Toma had, except actually looking like a sword. This'll end well. Dodge, or don't. Man, no reaction time. Polo? Polo! Okay, I'll stop. Check this out. This is actually an interesting implementation of the dream mechanic in this game. Basically, Toma's having a recurring nightmare. Check it out, it's our job to stop it. There's a couple of ways you can do this. You can dash into Toma while riding Bumble, or you can try to attack, but that does nothing. Or you can just block the strike like that. You can actually talk to Marco and Toma, it doesn't really do anything. This is actually sort of interesting, because if you consider the fact that Toma, Marco, and the Statue Knight are all basically creations of Toma's subconscious, it makes sense that he would know how to fight this thing, as well as what happens. So they're about to tell us basically exactly how to beat this boss, basically fulfilling the role of the hint markers that we usually have before boss fights. But again, since it's a creation of his own mind, of course he would know how to beat it. Makes it a little too obvious. Kind of defeats the purpose of having to figure out the puzzle boss for ourselves, but you know, whatever. Take what I can get. This boss is actually kind of fun compared to some of the previous ones. He has basically 3 attacks: that overhead sword swipe, a sidearm sword swipe, and one really cool attack that I'll show a little bit later. Basically, every time he attacks, his eye glows red. We can hit it with a charge attack from our new Arbalest. And his body shatters. The Arbalest is a weapon. It is our 3rd weapon and the weakest of the ones we have so far. In fact, the weakest overall. It's also, thanks to that, the easiest to level up, requires the fewest enemy kills. It's also our only ranged weapon, which makes it a useful item for killing things like jelly drops without giving up weapon experience. Anyway, this early part of the fight is pretty straightforward. You can get hit by these stone fragments. They go flying off the Statue Knight. Otherwise, the process is pretty much exactly like Marco said. We'll continue. It takes about 9 or 10 tosses into the holy water to defeat the knight. Check this out. This is my favorite attack. It's basically the same attack he used, the face plant. He actually turns himself to stone to use this attack, which he also did in the cutscene, which is kind of cool. But it does break him if he doesn't land on you, and possibly even if he does. You can actually cause him to hurt himself if he lands inside the holy water while performing this attack, which is a pretty cool way to finish him off, and it's what I attempted to do but barely failed in this fight. I think he does, okay, he doesn't do the sidearm sword swipe at this point, but it's basically only got those 3 attacks. It's surprisingly difficult since you have to get right up against him to push him over, to dodge the splintering attack. But again, since this is yet another fight where we don't really have to use Bumble, that doesn't really make that much of a difference. Let's move straight to the last one, which again is a iteration of his faceplant attack. If we stand right here in the holy water, he should actually kill himself. As it turns out, we just barely missed, so let's go toss this little orb into the water. Finish him off, there we go. No key, of course. There's supposed to be a small sub-theme to this situation, where it's basically the first real, honest-to-God, nice act that Stompy provides without, you know, promise of reward. This is supposed to be a really serious scene, but the angels that come to escort Marco's spirit to heaven are the sheep, you know, kind of takes a little bit out of it to me. They're adorable, but not really, like, appropriate. It kind of makes me think that, like, anytime the characters aren't imaginative to come up with filler for a scene for themselves, the sheep try to fill in as understudies. This problem resolved itself nicely. I mean, we didn't even know he was having, like, deep-seated depression, you know, and, like, guilt, survivor's guilt. Until about 10 minutes of gameplay ago. And now it's already over. Fun times. I mean, honestly, his job was probably much more difficult than ours. Presumably, we're not at real significant risk since we're fighting dream monsters. He actually adventured real, you know, ruins. Take the sheep with him. Polo. Alright, one more. Anyway, this is in fact a real level. There are items to collect and platforming to do. Not really sure what happened there. Honestly, I have no idea why this is even relevant. Apparently it's a big deal. Other than the fact that we had to use the water the first time around to beat the boss. So yeah, let's get out of here. We'll pick up our HP up and our tummy point. Beyond that, there's nothing to do here yet. We'll actually have to leave and come back in order to properly explore the stream, which I will do on the next episode. Not ending it yet, just saying we're not doing this right now. Think you can talk to Toma here? Maybe not. There's supposed to be a platform here that will eventually allow us to explore the remainder of the area. Royal Rainbow! Let's get out of here. Alright, that's enough of that right now. Again, as I said, this is pretty important because it's the first thing that Stompy actually did with that promise of reward. Kind of implies that he's warming up to people in general as opposed to being a, I don't know, a conceited ruin seeker or whatever. This is not really something you'd know is a subplot of the game unless you read it in the manual or something. They don't really do a very good job establishing it until just now. On the other hand, we actually do get a reward beyond the HP and the tummy point that we got for beating the boss. We get... Oops, wrong button. I meant to obtain. We get the Sword of Friendship. This is our second sword. It basically acts identically to the Ragna Blade. It shares the same weapon experience and functions basically as a recolor or a reskin, but with different parameters. We'll test it out in Yuri's Dream. Time to do some backtracking now that we can finally get back in here. I will see you in that case tomorrow on Let's Play Dual Hearts.